Bringing you guys the NFC North draft grades. I'm going to start with the division champion Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers had holes at outside linebacker, defensive end. They had some secondary issues. So the Packers went into this draft and hit on every single need. Right away they drafted Nick Perry in the first round. He's at 271, so they'll probably plug him in at outside linebacker, opposite side of Clay Matthews, to help that pass rush. They were one of the worst teams in the pass rush this last year. Jarrell Worthy is the defensive tackle out of Michigan State. He's at around 310 pounds. They'll probably put him in at defensive end in the 3-4 defensive scheme next to B.J. Raji. Casey Hayward was a second-round pick that they traded up for. He is a cornerback, but they could plug him in at safety. So these three guys I just mentioned right away could be day one starters. So, I mean, in that respect, that's huge. Other guys, Mike Daniels at defensive tackle adds more depth to the defensive line. Jerron McMillan at safety, more depth to the secondary. And then you had Terrell Manning outside linebacker, who adds more depth to the linebacking core. They went two guys on the line, two guys at linebacker, and then two guys in the secondary. Boom, boom, boom. They hit on everything for the defense. I believe they had a great draft in that respect. Then they went with a couple of late offensive players in the 7th round, being Andrew Datko and B.J. Coleman at quarterback. So overall, I'd probably give the Green Bay Packers a B+ to an A-. I really like the way they drafted as a fan, but as you know, from looking at it as what they had to do, they got the job done. The Detroit Lions, on the other hand, I don't think had as successful of a draft as the Green Bay Packers did. They went with Riley Reiff in the first round at offensive tackle. They're protecting Matthew Stafford. He's had injury history, so in that respect, that's good. He'll probably be their future left tackle. Now, Ryan Broyles was projected at 3rd to 5th round draft pick due to the ACL injury he had in November, but Ryan Broyles is a guy who can produce for you. They brought him in, and Matthew Stafford has another weapon to play with Calvin Johnson, Titus Young, and now Ryan Broyles. So we'll have to see how that goes. Now, after that, they went all defense. They had 6 picks. Yeah, 6 picks from the 3rd round onto the 7th round. They went with 3 cornerbacks and 3 outside linebackers. I found that to be a little bit surprising, but they did address the secondary position in the cornerbacks, and that's huge because they haven't gone cornerback in any round since 2008. So they addressed the cornerback position. One of the big name cornerbacks was Dwight Bentley in the 3rd round, and a big name linebacker, the outside linebacker Rennell Lewis, was a big name in the linebackers that they drafted. So going 3 linebackers, or 3 outside linebackers I should say, and 3 cornerbacks was a bit questionable. I'll give the Detroit Lions a B- in this draft. Not the best. I've liked their previous last drafts. This one was alright. The Bears, they went with Shea McClellan at outside linebacker in the 1st round. They addressed an aging defense, so that was, I believe, a good pick. Alshon Jeffrey, not a questionable pick, but he is questionable with his weight. He's 230. If he packs on any more weight, he very well could be a tight end. So they need to monitor that. They drafted him in the 2nd round, and overall, he is a top prospect at the position. He's a guy who will go up and grab the ball for you, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out for the Chicago Bears. Brandon Harden at safety in the 3rd round. Will probably start right away at safety for them. Then they went fullback and 2 cornerbacks. Overall, I mean, I wasn't too impressed with the Bears draft simply because they didn't draft an offensive lineman early. They need to protect Jay Cutler if they want to get anywhere in the NFC North and in the NFL, period. So if you don't go offensive line, you're making a statement that, hey, we're content with the guys that we have, and we don't really need to address a position. Jay Cutler got hurt last year due to that, so we'll have to wait and see how that decision pans out this year, but I don't think it was the right move for the Bears, so I'll give them a C+. Now the Vikings, last team in this in this division to hit on. Actually, I think they did the best. They went with Matt Khalil, the offensive tackle of the future. They protected Christian Ponder, and now they have their left tackle. So he'll probably be there for at least the next decade for the Minnesota Vikings. They traded up in the 1st round to grab Harrison Smith. I don't know if they used some of the picks they had that they got in the Cleveland trade, the Vikings traded back one spot with the Cleveland Browns from 3 to 4. They got 3 draft picks for that, plus they got the guy they wanted in Matt Khalil, so that was great. But they traded up in the first round and grabbed Harrison Smith. I thought that was huge. You're addressing safety right there. You're addressing secondary in a pass-happy NFC North. Then you went another cornerback, addressing more secondary in the third round, and Josh Robinson, who ran the fastest 40-yard dash at the combine. And then they went with a pair of wide receivers in the fourth round out of Arkansas. Actually, they're best friends. They played together since elementary school, I believe. So that was interesting. But they protected Christian Ponder. They addressed his secondary, which was a huge need in the NFC North. And then they went wide receiver. I mean, they went fullback in between the 2 wide receivers, but they were all late fourth-round picks. Point is, they got more weapons for Christian Ponder to play with, because the wide receiver position is a question mark right now for the Vikings besides Percy Harvin, who has injury history. So other than that, I believe the Vikings had the best draft. I'd give them an A- to an A. But those are my grades for the NFC North. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I should be bringing you guys the NFC East here shortly. I'm out.